We have reached the end of February, so welcome back to the bookshelves. Let's talk about all of the books that I read, didn't finish, added to my collection and removed from my collection in February, and also some of the books that I want to read for March. If you can remember from my January reads video, you know that I started rereading Harry Potter, and my goal was to finish reading it in February, and I did. So I finished reading Order of the Phoenix, The Half-Blood Prince, and Deathly Hallows in February. I got through them quite quickly. As I said in the January video, this is my 5th time reading Harry Potter, so I can just get through it so quickly. And as I also said in that video, I don't feel totally comfortable reviewing books that I have reread, but I will say, having read these as a 30-year-old, I did notice some things, and then there are some sad moments in these books. I think anyone that knows the story, whether you've watched the movies or read the books, you know that, and I didn't feel like they were actually that sad. I feel like as somebody who tends to be quite emotional over books and can start absolutely bawling her eyes out at the slightest hint of something sad about to happen, I've never felt that way about Harry Potter books. I feel like those sad moments are often just glossed over, and the things that often lead up to a sad moment again are glossed over. There's not really much of a build up. Isn't that sad to me? I know that people will say, yeah, but you've read them 5 times. And I'm like, yeah, there are other books that I have read as many, if not more times, which I cry over every single time. The next book that I read in February was The Stonekeeper's Curse, book 2 in the Amulet graphic novel series by Kazu Kibushi. I am very much enjoying this series. It's fantasy, it has got really cool artwork in it, and it is intriguing. It is a little bit stereotypical of a fantasy, and I think I know where we're going to go with it. I'm still enjoying it, and I'm really enjoying reading graphic novels and manga, and I just find that they're a really good kind of trigger to get me to know what I want to read next, and just to get me back into the reading frame of mind. I think if you just want to if you're just starting out on your journey into graphic novels and you love fantasy, grab the Amulet series because they're so easy to read. My last book of February is The Gilded Ones by Namina Forno, book 1 in the Deathless trilogy. This book has so many rave reviews on TikTok and is incredibly popular, and I have only heard positive things about it. I have to be honest, because that's what I'm here to do, to be honest about books. I enjoyed it, I got all the way through it, but I have only rated this 3 stars. To me, it's very predictable. I read the first 20 pages and I was like, I bet you this, and this is gonna happen. And not in one moment throughout the entire book was I dissuaded from the things that I thought was going to happen, and then they did happen exactly as I thought they were going to happen. It's a good read. The general story, it's typical YA fantasy, and if you want something easy to read, then you're going to enjoy it. If you're just maybe getting into young adult fantasy, you're probably going to enjoy it. I loved social commentary that runs throughout this book. It's so strongly about feminism, it's about race and religion and gender and the way we see each other, and also about fighting against, I guess, the system, for lack of a better way of putting it. And the magic and the setting and the world and the characters are interesting, and some of the things I would really have liked to have more proving yourself moments, and not just proving themselves to the others, the men in the stories and each other, but just to themselves as well. I feel like it lacked a lot of that. The next book that I want to talk about is a book that I didn't finish. I am a solid believer in DNFing books. There are too many books out there that I want to read to waste my time reading books that I'm just not into, that haven't caught my attention, and unfortunately The Improbable Life of Ricky Bird by Diana Conley didn't work. My dad read this book and he really enjoyed it, and I will be doing a little review with him over on my TikTok, so make sure you're following me there. This, I believe, is classified as a literary fiction. Yeah, I got 32 pages into this and then just never wanted to pick pick it up. Didn't really want to know where it was gonna go, what was gonna happen, and all that kind of stuff, which to me is like the ultimate sign of a book that you're just not into. I'll probably pass it on to my mum and she'll probably enjoy it. Now let's talk about the books that I added into my collection in February, and let's start with the 3 books that I received from HarperCollins Simon Schuster New Zealand. First one was The Rom-Com Agenda by Jane Denker, which I believe came out in January, and I'm really enjoying reading light-hearted romantic comedies at the moment, so I'm very excited about this. From what I can gather from the blurb, this is about Ellie, whose girlfriend has broken up with him, but he believes that they are meant to be together, they're soulmates. So he goes about trying to figure out how to make himself the perfect man so that they can get back together and live their lives happily ever after. And he does this by watching romantic comedies. But then Leah ends up coming in and helping Ellie. She thinks that he's perfect the way that he is, and that she might actually be falling in love with him. I can't wait to read it. The next book came with a couple of goodies. The first thing was this little patch and also this pin, and if you haven't guessed already by looking at those, the book that I received was Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare, book 3 in the Last Hours trilogy, part of the Shadowhunters world. This book came out on the 31st of January. I am so excited because this is the collector's first edition and it is stunning. This is the standard cover. It is reversible with this wonderful cover on the inside of the dust jacket. There are also some illustrations throughout the book, which is really cool. I have not read any of the Last Hours trilogy. The first 2 are sitting on my shelf, but I will be very soon. I love the Shadowhunters books, but this is so beautiful. And the last book that I received from HarperCollins in February was The Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakravorty. I am so sorry if I've said names wrong. I tried. I believe this is an adult fantasy which follows Amina, who is a pirate of infamy and one of the most storied and scandalous captains to ever sail the 7 seas. The chance of an adventure arises. Amina is thrown back into the world of bandits and pirates with the promise that this will be the last adventure and it will be the one that sets her family up for the future. But as she delves deeper into the mysteries and everything surrounding it, she realizes that the stakes are higher than she even anticipated. I am loving reading books that have influences from cultures and countries that I am genuinely unfamiliar with. I cannot wait to read this. If you want to see what my thoughts and feelings and overall reviews of these new books are, then make sure that you are subscribed and that you've rung the bell so you get notified. The last book that I added to my collection in February I bought for myself, and it was a little bit of a treat. It was my little prize, my celebration, my treat, my gift to myself as a reward for finishing the first draft of my book, and I could not resist it. I read this book in 2021 and loved it. 5-star. Absolutely love this book. So I could not resist when I noticed that my local bookstore has this absolutely beautiful collector's edition of it. Hardback with sprayed edges and with the end pages and everything. This is just so beautiful. I love this book. This is one of my favorite books. This was a book that brought me so much joy. I basically read the whole thing in a day. It is new adult, it is queer and joyous and romance. As I'm somebody who doesn't necessarily believe in having 2 copies of the same book, this version I'm going to be sending to my friend Alec because I think that he will thoroughly enjoy it. And speaking of books that are going to be leaving my collection, there are quite a few this month. I have moved my bookshelves around, but you'll see that in a video coming in a couple of weeks time, and in that process I decided to weed out some of the books, so my unhaul pile for February is quite mighty. As you already know, this version of Red, White and Royal Blue is heading off to Australia and to Alec, and I will also be unhauling The Improbable Life of Ricky Bird, simply because I don't keep books that I didn't finish on my shelf. The first ones are The Odyssey and the Iliad by Homer. Next off is a book that's probably gonna go only as far as my parents' bookshelf, and that is The Diary of Anne Frank. The next two fall into a very similar category as to why they are leaving my collection. They're two books that I do generally want to read, but I don't actually want to read the copies that I have. And this is an entirely Sarah reason, but it is Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens and also Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. Another slightly older book that I am moving on is The Magic Faraway Tree by Enid Blyton. The next two are a little bit sad that they are being evicted from the shelves. They are The Shaktra and the Yanti by Christopher Pike, book 2 and book 3 in the Alosha series. Now I read these as well as Alosha, which is book 1, and loved it, but the Yanti, this book here, it finishes on one of the biggest cliffhangers ever, and we have never got book 4. I have done some googling, I have done some research to see if we're ever gonna get book 4, and what I discovered was a Facebook post that he posted in 2016 that said that the rights to Alosha had been given for it to be made into a movie or a TV show or something, and Tor Publishing House did not feel that the sales of these books were enough to release a book 4 until said movie or TV show came out. We're what, 7 years on from when that post was posted, and I honestly don't think that we are ever gonna get book 4. The next book is Center Stage by Linda Chapman, and the last book is In the Hand of the Goddess by Tamora Pierce, book 2 in the Song of the Lioness series. See, I told you there was a lot of books that I was getting rid of this month. And to round off this video of books, these are the 6 books that I am wanting to read in March. The first one is The Merciless Ones by Namina Fauna, book 2 in the Deathless trilogy. The second book is Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, book 4 in the Bridgertons series by Julia Quinn. Then we have The Snow Laundry by Met Jacobson, which is book 1 in the Towers duology. Then we have book 3 in the Amulet graphic novel series, The Cloud Searchers by Kazo Kibushi. The 5th book of March is The White Mantle, which is book 1 in Earth's Aetheric Aegis by Valora Vin. And the last book for March is I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuestion. Those are all of my books from February. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, then please make sure you give it a thumbs up. It means so much to me when people do that. And if you have any questions about any of the books, or you have any book suggestions, or you want some recommendations or whatever, then leave them in the comments down below and I will see what I can do. Make sure you also are following me on BookTok and Bookstagram for more regular bookish content, and subscribe for more book and travel videos, and ring the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video, which is every Wednesday at approximately 7 PM New Zealand time. I will see you guys next week in my next video, but until then, happy reading everybody.